Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Today I have a fun makeup look inspired by the James Charles Morphe palette and also by my work as a speech language pathologist. Before I get into the video, remember to subscribe and to click the notification bell so you are always notified when I post my next upload. I purchased this palette. I discovered James recently, as of this year. Love his makeup videos, and I saw this palette and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna purchase it. I saw that, and he has done a couple of videos that are looks inspired by his followers. And so I thought, well, I don't have that many followers, but I thought I would take my profession as a speech language pathologist and create a makeup look based on the 9 areas of speech language pathology. There are 9 big areas of speech language pathology, and those are articulation, so speech sounds, fluency, or the rate of our voice, stuttering might be how you hear of it, voice issues, so if you have a vocal fry or a very hoarse voice. Expressive and receptive language is number 4. So expressive being the words we use to express our thoughts and ideas, wants and needs, etc. And then receptive language is our listening comprehension. Feeding and swallowing. So you might have individuals with dysphagia, which is a swallowing disorder. Makes it safer and comfortable for those individuals to eat food and swallow their food. We have cognition, so this is things like organizing tasks in your brain and different things like that. We have hearing, so we work with audiologists. Those are professionals that are trained in hearing disorders and treatment of hearing disorders, and how you hear and what you can hear greatly impacts your ability to produce speech. We have social communication, or you might hear it as pragmatic language, social language, and this is really focusing on some of those social behaviors and how we communicate with others. And then finally, we have AAC, which stands for augmentative and alternative communication, and this is things like devices that allow individuals that cannot speak, whether it's due to a disorder or a disease that has impacted their ability to speak and gives them a voice. So I'm going to try to encapsulate all 9 of the areas of speech language pathology on my face with makeup. So before I get into it, here's how I look now. No makeup, no anything, and hopefully this will be a big transformation. Now, I am not a makeup artist. I just like to do makeup for fun. So before I get into using the palette, I'm going to do a little bit of skin prep. So I'm gonna start with this Sephora Super Matte Moisturizer. It mattifies and hydrates. I'm going to apply this all over my face as my base. Next, I'm gonna go in with a lightweight foundation. This is the Ordinary Coverage Foundation. It's high coverage. I find it's lightweight and it's buildable. So if you just use a little bit like I'm gonna do, you can get, light coverage. It's a very lightweight foundation. It's a thinner liquid than most liquid foundations I've worked with before. And the color match is pretty good too. Where is there? So I'm just gonna use my NYX foundation flat paddle brush to apply this all over, and I'm not gonna go too heavy with it. Okay, so I have put foundation all over my face, and I also put a little bit on my neck because I am going to do a bit of makeup there. Now I'm gonna go in with a concealer just to cover up any blemishes. This is the Instant Age Rewind Corrector Multi-Usage by Maybelline. So I have my concealer on. Now we're gonna kind of go in with the eyeshadow. So again, this is the packaging for the eyeshadow. This is the Morphe X James Charles palette. And it says, "Hi sisters, James Charles here, and welcome back to my palette. I love glam, but I also have a huge passion for crazy, colorful, outside of the box makeup, and I created this palette with that in mind. I included every beautifully formulated shade necessary to create literally any look you could possibly imagine. I can't wait to see what you come up with when you unleash your inner artist. James Charles. So his message on the back also inspired me to do this look, and I'm gonna unleash my inner artist. I think this is a beautiful palette. It definitely looks like an artist palette. So you can see lots of shades. We have all the colors of the rainbow. Some of the shades are matte, some of them are glitter shades. This inlay has all of the names of the different shadows on it. I want to know the names of the shades, and so I can tell you what I'm using as I'm going through this palette. I just used some double-sided tape to tape the inlay onto the inside cover of the palette, so I never lose it. I always know what the names of the shades are. It also protects the eyeshadows for when you close it up when you're done. So here again, here it is. And in addition to some of the eyeshadows, I'll be using some eyeliners and some lip liners, especially for more fine detailed items. I'm gonna quickly do both brows off camera, and then we'll come back and do some more makeup. All right, both brows are done. As you can see, I'm first gonna go for my forehead. I'm planning on drawing a brain with some cogs on it, or gears, and that's gonna represent cognition. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this white eyeliner. This is from NYX. It's their eye pencil in white. Here's what it looks like. Very standard eye pencil. And I'm going to just lightly, as lightly as I can, sketch out the general shape of a brain. And then I'll go in with a darker eyeliner and kind of draw in the cogs, and then I'm gonna go in with some of the eyeshadows to really make it pop, just add a little color as well. I'm gonna go in with an eyeshadow, my first eyeshadow from the palette. And I think to help the eyeshadows stick, I'm gonna use some primer, eyeshadow primer specifically. This is the NYX Proof It Waterproof Eyeshadow Primer. Comes in this little tube. I'm gonna go in, I have lots of different brushes here. They're all from different brands, but I'll share each one as I go along. So the first brush I'm using is called Standout Sweep. It's by the brand MOTD. Let me show you here. This is a brush set I received from Ipsy. It was an add-on, and I really like these brushes so far. Here's what it looks like. So a flat, sort of wide bristle head. And I want to go for like your traditional kind of pink brain. Since if you've ever actually seen an actual brain, it does have like a pinkish gray tinge to it, I guess. So I'm going to go in and I'm first going to use 1, 2, 3. Okay. This is called Pinkity Drinkity, this shade here. It's like a very light, pretty pink, and I'm gonna use that all over the area where I've drawn out my brain. Now, if you are unfamiliar with James Charles, his favorite Starbucks drink is the Pinkity Drinkity. And they have it at my local Starbucks. They have it at most Starbucks, I believe, but it's the strawberry acai refresher with coconut milk. And one day, I was like, I want to try this. It was an amazing drink if you want something that's refreshing, slightly creamy, fruity, doesn't have a lot of caffeine in it. Highly recommend it. Get light ice because otherwise it gets watered down pretty quick. Okay, so before I continue talking about the Pinkity drink, I don't know how well you can see this. It's a really nice light pink color. Pack this color into the center of the brain area I've drawn. So I like that. I think what I'm gonna do, it's very faint and I do want it to be visible. So I'm gonna take a lip liner, or a lip pencil rather. And this is also from NYX. It's in the color Nude Pink. And I'm gonna go around the edges of the area where I originally put white, since I've now got the light pink down, just so it's accentuated. I don't wanna go in with something like a black because I don't want it to be so obvious, but I do want a nice outline where you can see it, but it's subtle. So I'm gonna go in and do that. Okay, so you can see where I've gone over the white with the eyeliner. I think this is more what I was looking for and had envisioned in my head for this look. I'm gonna go back in with the same brush into a little more pinkety drinkety and just go over any areas where I think could use a little more of this beautiful pink color. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into a brighter pink color just to kind of amp up the pink color of this brain. I'm gonna go in with this shade Skip. It's this hot pink color. It's really bright, really pretty. I'm gonna go in with the same brush and I'm going to again pat this over top the lighter shade that I applied. Okay, see, I've applied the Skip color, that hot pink. I'm gonna go back in with the lip liner. As I was putting that color on, I lost a little bit of the crispness of the line, so I'm gonna go in with this color again, the lip liner, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I have outlined once again the brain with that pink lip pencil from NYX. I'm going to next go in with a black eye and eyebrow pencil, also from NYX. It's in the shade Black. And this is what I'm going to use to draw the cogs. So a cog is a gear. They're interchangeable terms. I'm not gonna fill this whole brain with cogs because I do want you to be able to see some of the pink. So I'm probably just gonna do 3 or 4. Just so it comes across as the brain is for cognition and where we do all of our thinking. And I still want you to be able to see kind of like grooves and the pink blush shade of the brain. Not gonna be perfect. And actually I kind of like the idea of it not being perfect because no one has like a perfect brain, right? So I'm gonna draw a couple more and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so here is my brain with cogs. I drew a half cog on the top and I really like how it turned out. I don't know how well the camera's picking this up, but I did a couple of grooves with the white eyeliner and I also went back and outlined the brain around the outside of where I had put the pink lip liner to make it pop. One idea I thought of, and in the palette there's this crisp white shade. What I'm going to do with that, let me show it to you. It's this white shade here. It's a pure white and it's called Flashback. I'm going to take that on this tiny detail brush. This is also from MOTD. This is called their Smoky Detailer. Here's what it looks like. It's a blunt brush with a flat angled head. Here we go. So I'm going to dip into a little bit of that and just go over where I put the grooves, just so they really pop. And this is the brain representing cognition complete. So I think I'm gonna move on to the eyes. So on my eyes, I'm gonna represent social communication. So what does that mean? Well, when we communicate, whether we're having a conversation with a loved one or we need to let someone know that we need or want something, that's social communication. So what I'm gonna do is kind of a take on, you've probably seen those name tags that say like, hello, my name is, and then there's a blank spot. So I'm gonna mimic that and I'm gonna do, hello, my name is, and then I'm gonna leave it at that because I think most of you know my name. So I'm gonna try to hopefully write that on my eyelid. We'll see how it turns out. And for my eyelids, I did put a little concealer because my eyes, the eyelids rather, do have some redness to them, which isn't a bad thing, but I'm gonna go back in with this colorless waterproof eyeshadow primer on my eyelids. I'm gonna do this all over the eyelid and then also underneath the brow bone. So I'm gonna go into Flashback. This color here, it's that bright white, true white color. I'm gonna pack this all over the lid. Okay, so I've gone in with the white all over the eyelid. I know it doesn't look that white on camera, but it has really good pigmented coverage. I'm going to use this bright blue color called Brother on this angled brush, and I'm just gonna press it almost like a stamp and do that same thing I was planning on, but with an eyeshadow instead. So plan C, which I think turned out, it wasn't my original vision, but I do like how it turned out. I just did hi, my name, ... And I used the angled eyeliner brush with the shade Brother to write it. And now what I'm thinking of doing is taking the same brush and of Brother and Playground. Playground is this sort of brighter blue teal shade here, combining those and doing an eyeliner look with that combo to pull in the blue from hi, my name, ... onto the eye as well, just to add a little bit of extra something to the eye. I'm just going in and doing that. I'm gonna finish this off camera, but you can kind of see what I'm going for, and then we'll move on to the next part. Okay, so here is the finished eyeliner. I also brought a little of the same blue shades to the lower lash line, just in the corners, kind of to blend it out and create almost a wing. So I'm just gonna set everything that I have so far with this Bear With Me Prime Set Refresh Spray from NYX. Love this stuff. Okay, so what do I want to move on to next? Okay, I think since we're kind of in this realm, I'm gonna move on to the nose. For my nose, this is actually where, and some of you might be surprised, I'm going to represent articulation. So the reason I picked the nose is, one, I was kind of running out of areas to put articulation because a lot of areas of speech have to do with the mouth. So that's one reason. Another reason I picked the nose is because there are two sounds in English that involve the nose when you make those sounds. M and N. They're called nasal sounds because a lot of the air that you use for those sounds is being produced in your nose. So I'm going to do a contour of my nose to make it thinner, but also to just highlight my nose, and then I'm going to do an M and an N above the nostrils. So I saw this one video where James used his palette to apply all of his makeup. So not just eyeshadow, but foundation, concealer, bronzer, contour, highlighter. He went all out. So my plan is for the contour, since I have light skin, I'm gonna go in with the shade Punch Me. It's this brown, there we go. It's this brown shade, it's like a light tan. And I'm gonna use this Come Through contour brush from MOTD. This is what the head looks like. It's angled, it's fluffy. You can see I use this a lot. So I'm gonna dip into that shade Punch Me, and I'm going to bring this along the sides of my nose. I'm gonna use this same brush, and just for a nice highlight, I'm gonna go in, I'll go for that shade, it looks like a good highlight shade. I'm gonna go with this shade called Ring Light. There it is. So it's sort of a pearlescent, light champagne shade, I guess I would say. I'm gonna dip that same brush into that color and just go down the center of my nose here. I'm gonna take my black eyeliner, it might need to be sharpened, let's see. I think it's okay. And I'm gonna do an M and an N to represent those sounds. So I'm gonna quickly do that, come back, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we have the M and the N, just a subtle nod to articulation, and that is for hearing. I'm going to draw the anatomy of the ear. So if you've ever taken an anatomy course or have ever seen a picture of the inside of the ear, I'm going to try to replicate that with makeup on my face. I'm gonna do the eustachian tube, the 3 inner ear bones, so the malleus, the incus, and the stapes. I'm gonna do the cochlea, the vestibular. We'll see how much of that I can get on my face, but I'm just gonna do it on one side because I have a plan for something else to do on the other cheek. I found a picture on Pinterest and it had all these vibrant colors, reds, pinks, greens, blues, and it's not, obviously, we don't have green and blue. That's not what those organs look like, but it was sort of a cartoon graphic image, so I'm gonna replicate that. And this palette has so many fun colors, I wanna try to use as many as I can. So before I get into any eyeshadows, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this matte crayon lipstick. This is from the brand Sugar. This I received in one of my recent Ipsy bags. This is the shade Honey Rider. It's sort of this coral red shade. And this is just what I'm gonna use to kind of start and shape where I want this image to start. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and draw in the bones, and the bones vibrate and help us to hear. So here's the picture I'm referencing. You can see there's like this reddish, orange, pink color that's representing the ear canal. And then the bright green is representing the bones, or the tympanic membrane, the malleus, incus, and stapes. So you can see the bright green. Then there's the pink for the cochlea and the blue for the vestibular nerve. It got kind of cut off there. So this is the picture I'm referencing, and I'm going to dip into this. I'm going to dip into the shade Social Blade. It's this bright green here. Then for the cochlea, that's that part of the ear that looks like a snail shell. I'm gonna go in first with the same lip liner that I used for the brain. And again, it's in the shade Nude Pink by NYX. I'm just gonna draw the circle kind of where I want it, and then I'm gonna go in with some of the shades from the palette. Use this. I'm gonna go into the same shades I used for the brain. So that is Pinkity Drinkity, that light pink shade, and also Skip, which is that hot pink shade. And then what I think I'll do to really get that snail shape back in, I'm gonna go in with black, and I'm just gonna draw in the spiral. Again, the shade Playground, it's this teal blue to represent the vestibular nerve that you saw in the picture. That was blue. It was this kind of blue shade, I think. So just gonna kind of draw like a V shape with that. You can see the bones and the tympanic membrane. I really like the cochlea. I think that's my favorite part. And then it just kind of brings it to the ear. And this is gonna represent fluency. So I'm just gonna do like 3 or 4 lines, kind of like a Wi-Fi symbol. If you've ever seen like a person talking and their speech, it's kind of represented by lines. So I'm gonna do that on the side of my mouth here. We're gonna do AAC. So like I mentioned earlier, AAC stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication. You might see people using iPads, picture symbols. I'm gonna try to mimic, I guess, an iPad. There's not a gray shade in here, but that's totally fine. I think I'm just gonna go for black anyway. So we're gonna go for the shade Spooky. It's this true dark black color. And I'm gonna try to create like that iPad shape. That's an example of a device that's used for AAC. So I'm gonna take Spooky again on this angled brush. So I'm gonna continue to create that sort of rectangular shape as like the base for my AAC device, and then we'll come back in a minute. Okay, so here's the outline for the iPad / AAC device. They have a bright white screen, and I kind of want to try and replicate that. So I'm gonna take a mix of 2 shades I've used before in this video. I'm gonna take a mix of Flashback, which is this bright white, there we go, and then this, is that the right shade? Yes, this Champagne shade, which is called Ring Light. I'm going to combine those and fill in the square to sort of resemble that bright white screen that you see when you first start up an iPad. I'm going to fill it in with the primer, fill it in with those two shades, a combination of those two shades, and then I'll show you where we're at then. Okay, so here is the white sort of shiny background of the iPad. I'm gonna go in with the black eyeliner, try to do like some little tiny squares, because many AAC programs out there, one I've used a lot is called Proloquo to Go. It is small 1 to 2 inch squares, so I'm gonna try to replicate that. So I'm gonna recreate more squares on my face. I'll come back and then we're going to move on. Okay, so here is all of the squares representing buttons on an AAC device. I'm going to do ABC to represent language, so expressive and receptive language, and I just thought letters would represent language really well. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So for A, I'm gonna go in with, what is this called? It's called You're Kidding. It's this bright red shade. It's like a primary red. I'm gonna go with the angled brush again. So for yellow, I'm gonna use this bright yellow shade. I love it. Yellow is my favorite color. I'm really into this shade. It's called Bee, B-E-E, like the insect. And that's what I'm gonna do the bee in. What I'm gonna do, just to make it really pop, I'm gonna go in with this gold eyeliner. This is Gold Shimmer Eye Pencil, also by NYX. Okay, I like how that looks. So I just traced over with the gold shimmer to really make the yellow pop. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go for that one. Trying to use a blue I haven't used already. I'm gonna go for this shade called Cola. It's like a navy blue. It's another matte shade. And this is what I'm gonna do the C with. So ABCs to represent language. What I want to do is vocal folds for voice. I'm gonna use another image I found on Pinterest for this. It's actually an Etsy print, which I thought was great. Kind of the picture I'm referencing. I'm gonna do some red and pink and yellow. So for the outline, I'm gonna go for, I feel like I really like the rusted color. It's that slightly darker, almost orange-red color, red-orange color. And I'm gonna outline kind of the shape straight on. I'm gonna draw it here, so it's not on this fold of my neck. So I'm gonna try to draw it here. So it's not exactly where the vocal folds are, but I don't want it on this part since that's a lot harder to see than this area. So I'm gonna outline with rusted, kind of the general shape. For the vocal folds, I'm gonna do a combination 518. So this color here, it's orange, like almost creamsicle orange, if you can picture that. And then this is called Tune, T-U-N-E. It's like a pale buttery yellow color. So I'm gonna combine those, and the vocal folds, they almost look like thick pieces of string. And I'm gonna draw them here and here. Okay, so for the vocal folds, which I realized are not centered on my neck, not a huge deal, I took a combination of 518, which is like a creamsicle orange color, and Tune, which is like this buttery yellow color. I combined them and I went in and did some curved lines. And then to fill in the gaps on the sides and in the middle, I went back in with rusted, that red-orange shade, and filled it in. Finally, and I just had this idea, I'm gonna do SLP. Okay, I'm gonna use a combination of two purple shades. One is a matte, one is a glitter or shimmer. The first I'll use is called Escape. It's this purple color here. I think it's, you know, the purple that we all think of. And then I'm gonna use Artistry, which actually fits perfectly with today's look. It's this shiny purple shade. So I'm gonna first apply a bit of the primer on my chin here, just a little bit. Go in with this small detail brush. I'm gonna dip into Escape, that purple shade. I'm gonna do S. And then I'm gonna top it with Artistry, which is that purple shimmer shade. And there we have it. This is just my fun take on James Charles videos I've seen. And using his palette and bringing my career as a speech language pathologist into it. I'm gonna do that quickly off camera. Mascara, little bronzer. I'm gonna set everything with the Morphe Mattifying Continuous Setting Spray. Here's what it looks like. Okay, I decided before I completely put the palette away, I wanna use a shade out of here for highlighter and a shade out of here for blush. So for highlighter, I'm gonna go to, again, the Ring Light shade here, the Champagne Shimmer shade. And for blush, I'm gonna go in with Mary, this pretty mauve pink color. And I'm just gonna put both of these here on the temples, and maybe a little bit in those areas that I just pointed to. This is me closing up the palette for today, the Morphe X James Charles palette. I'm gonna set everything with the Morphe spray. Here we have it, the finished Morphe X James palette SLP areas of focus makeup look. I hope you liked this video. Thank you for watching, and until next time, see you later. Bye.